Greetings and welcome to week 13. We are almost done with this class. This week we're going to talk about chapter 12, which is basically focusing on diversity, populations at risk or at-risk populations, and different modalities of empowering these different groups. And so throughout this chapter, I would like for you all to focus on the meaning and intentionality about empowerment, because that's going to play a strong role in what we're going to be reviewing this particular week. And so some of these marginalized groups include women who have been subjected to all forms of oppression, lower paying wages, less education than our white counterparts for the most part, and just decades of just being treated in a discriminatory fashion. We'll also talk about groups with developmental disabilities and what that looks like. We'll cover LGBTQ and some of the oppression that they face in terms of workplace discrimination, the failure to recognize same-sex relationships, different policies that impact the whole family, and various forms of harassment and violence that is bestowed upon this particular group. It's also some information on there about, just the various levels of poverty and the inequitable treatment of these diverse groups on the macro level. And so I guess what we should be doing this week is trying to determine various ways to increase access for the well-being of these at-risk groups and what that is going to look like on a macro level. One of the examples in the book talked about and described a little bit about grandparents caring for their grandchildren, right? In the wake of the crack cocaine epidemic. And so what the literature suggests is that this particular group, African Americans, grandparents, struggled significantly with understanding or learning how to best serve or care for these children and adolescents, because they had limited resources. And so a study was completed which described that based on the limited access to various resources, that these caregivers in return started to suffer from depression, hypertension, and they increased their usage of tobacco and alcohol products. So that was very significant. However, what I found even more, not interesting, but more perplexing was just the similarities between African Americans and the Latino community. First, they described the Latino community based on 4 different categories. So Puerto Ricans, Mexicans, Cubans, Central South American were the terms that they used to describe this population. But what I found even more remarkable was that, there's still high value placed on spirituality, family, community, and things of that nature. And those are the catalyst for many as they navigate, these systemic issues that they face on a larger scale. And so I think it's important for us to kind of even look at the 6 dimensions that they identify in the book for the Navajo community. Is 6 cultural dimensions that they talk about. That's important because that also links to some of the attributes that each minority group possesses. And so in order for us to grow culturally competent, it's important for us to be familiarized with those beliefs, because all our beliefs do not look the same. but they are equally significant because they're going to help inform the policies. They're going to help inform the practices, the services, and the resources that are available to the populations that we're serving. So basically, this week we're just trying to tie the content together and examine how our political actions in organizations can empower these communities, can empower these diverse populations, right? And then we want to coordinate our efforts so that they impact legislation, they impact the individuals that we elect into government to help with ameliorating some of these concerns that we see, right? And so that is probably pretty much it. So I also just wanted to let you all know that this week we will be discussing, or you guys will be doing a discussion board relative to the impacts of poverty and the role that we as social workers will play in the macro environment. And so as you read the chapter and you watch the video, kind of put into place like what you would do in those situations. Would you develop or a study that focuses on the ethnographics of a particular population to really see and hone into what is important to them? What are their beliefs? What are their what's their story, right? Because when we know their story, then we could best figure out ways to assist them. And then once we figure that out on the most basic level, then we build. It's like building a foundation, right? We have to get to know what the needs are in order to be able to adequately address the overarching issues. So that's pretty much it for this week. I have not finished reviewing your voice threads, but I will do so. And try to have that information or your grades posted for that by the duration of this week. So meanwhile, have a great week and see you all soon.